the administration Q&A portion of Back to School Night. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the welcome video or the other videos we put up today. But first thing we're going to do is introduce ourselves as administrators of Rancho Bernardo High School. Start with myself. My name is Hans Becker, and I'm the new principal. I'm the new guy around here at Rancho Bernardo High School. I'm the principal. If you haven't heard, I came from another high school in the district, or different district. I came from Point Loma High School. And I'm very, very happy to be here at Rancho Bernardo. This is an amazing place. Despite being in a global pandemic, the staff and teachers here have been absolutely amazing. So I'll introduce myself and go ahead and we'll go around the screen and let the assistant principals introduce themselves.
Sure. So I'll go first. My alpha is A through G. If your last name is A through G, I'm your student's assistant principal. This is my 7th year at RB High. I oversee the counseling department, student services, the Bronco Center, student support, intervention. And I also oversee the visual performing and technical arts, all of our electives, and our special education and CTE courses. And I have a son here at RB.
And I don't think you said your name, Ms. Bose.
Oh, sorry. My name is Yael Bose.
Fantastic.
And I'm Bill Egan, and I'm also another assistant principal here. This is my 7th year as well. Yael and I got hired together. Prior to that, I was a special education teacher at both Steel Canyon High School and Helix High School. I oversee the math department, the English department, PE and health, and athletics as well. I also have 3 kids of my own, much younger than the high school age, but I'm also a parent, and so I know I'm kind of on the other end of the journey and seeing what that's like. So happy to be here and happy to get to know all of you and work with and support your students.
Fantastic.
Hello, I am Kelly Moore. I am the assistant principal that oversees the part of the alphabet that's O through Z. The main departments that I oversee are social science, world language, science, and AVID. Before coming to RB, this is my 5th year here. Before coming to RB, I was a social science teacher and ASB director at Coronado High School. And I, like Bill, also have 3 children, not in high school. They're all littles in elementary school. So definitely on that other end of what everybody is dealing with right now.
Thanks, everybody. And I should mention that I do have 3 of my own kids, and we actually span elementary, middle, and high school at the Becker household. So I kind of get a flavor of everyone's kind of background just being at my house. I imagine my house in the morning before we leave to go to work is much like your houses in the morning. It's a little chaotic, and so but it's great. So a couple things before we get started. What we're going to do is, since we have everyone muted, we're going to use the chat room or the chat function. If you have questions, to go ahead and throw them in there. And then if we have time, we'll kind of unmute and just kind of let it go freewheeling and see where we go with letting everyone be able to speak. But I know that with as many people as we have right now, we're at 112. If we just kind of open up the microphones, it might get a little chaotic. So go ahead and feel free to use the chat, and we'll monitor the chat. And I thought what I would do is kind of go over a couple of the main things that I'm sure you might have questions about. And I guess one of the very first things that have been coming up is about attendance. And that's been really tricky, I got to admit, because it's really hard to take attendance in a virtual world when kids are going to be synchronous or asynchronous. And so we've had a lot of kind of bumps and we're learning some things. But if you have attendance, if your child has been given the robocall saying that they missed class, whatever that day, please work with our attendance office. We understand that technology happens and Zooms fail and kids don't, things happen, or the household's server gets overloaded and you can't log on to your Zoom session. That's not your fault. And we're not going to penalize you for that, but just communicate that with us or have your teacher communicate with the teacher. We're going to work with you and make sure you support that. But again, our attendance office, which is a staff of 1, is going to do everything she can to make sure that attendance is taken timely. And again, a lot of parents have been so patient with us on this process as we're learning. Just go ahead and feel free to reach out to the teacher or the attendance office. And we're going to take your word for it. If there was a problem with technology, I get it. We'll make sure that no one's penalized for having something crashed at their household. That's not what we're about. We want to make sure kids are learning and growing, not getting penalized because Zoom didn't work that day. The other thing is that the big conversation I see that's happening in the moms and dads, and full disclosure, I do look at the moms and dads Facebook page, so I do see what's getting put up there, and I also want to thank Kristen for monitoring that. By the way, she's doing an amazing job with that. Appreciate that, and I saw you on here, so thanks. Shout out to you. But the way that grades are being done right now, teachers are all using Canvas, as you know, and we're all learning Canvas. Parent View, or as we call it, Synergy, which is the actual product, and you guys see Parent View, is actually where grades are stored for official grades. So when we're looking at final grades, we're looking at report card grades or progress grades, Parent View is going to have the accurate grades. However, Parent View will not have the most up-to-date grades because it takes teachers an extra step and extra work to be able to take all the grades out of Canvas and put them into Synergy or Parent View. So if you really want to know what your kids are doing, don't rely on Parent View. Log into their Canvas accounts, like I have to do with my own kids at home, and see what actually is happening. But at the end of the day, at the end of the terms, because we're going to be finishing a term here in about 2 weeks, Synergy will have the most accurate grades for your kids. I hope that makes sense. Let's see. And Ms. Moore, I think you had something else you might want to add about grades.
I actually want to add a little something about attendance.
Okay, yeah.
So when it comes to attendance, as Mr. Becker said, if you could let us know if your child is having technical issues so that we can clear that absence so that it doesn't count against them. Also, as you normally would, if your student is absent and not going to be able to participate because of sickness, a doctor's appointment, anything like that, that should also be communicated to the attendance office as you normally would. If they're sick and still able to do their work for the day, or if they have an appointment and still are able to do their work for the day, we don't need to know about that. But if they will miss class or will not be able to do their assignments for the day, if you could let our attendance office know. If your child, if you feel that they've been marked absent erroneously, if you could contact the teacher for that, because our attendance office then has to contact the teacher. So if you could just go directly to the teacher and get that worked out, and then the teacher will contact us, and that's the only contact that you'll have to do. So if it's tech issue or illness or appointment or something like that, contact attendance office. If it's that you think your child was marked absent by mistake, if you could contact the teacher directly, that would be great.
Great. Thanks for clearing that up. I appreciate it. And then one other kind of big topic that's kind of being talked about right now is, and you may have seen this or have heard from some students, is that we are at Rancho Bernardo High School starting to allow some kids back on campus for in-class sessions. And we're starting this, we started this week with a small group of kids. And we're doing this because the goal is to try to get more kids on campus, but we have to kind of start small, because the most important thing we're going to do here is make sure that your kids are safe and that our staff here are safe too as well. And we're doing that. Every student that comes on campus has to be wearing a mask 100% of the time. Every student that comes on campus will be required to wear a mask. And then we're also going to double check to make sure that kids on campus are scanned using their student ID card or on their phone. I guess they have a way they can scan off their phone to get to see it. And making sure that students are on campus, are scanned into campus, and also if they leave campus to go to another class back at home, we need to know that, because if there was ever any type of, God forbid, emergency on campus, we actually need to know who's actually on the campus and who's not on the campus. So as we kind of go through this process of allowing kids on campus, we need to make sure that kids are following all the protocols. You know, we can't have a temperature. They always have to wear a mask, and they have to let us know, and they come in the same way and exit the same way, that they can be scanned in and out of campus. And so those are the main things I want to talk. I see the chat's starting to kind of fill up a little bit. So why don't we start doing those? Let's see. Who's monitoring the chat here?
So there's a question real quick. I'll jump to the attendance one. Do you call attendance for a tardy or to report the technical issue to the teacher? So if the tardy is due to technical issue, in that case, I would really do both. If the teacher hasn't already taken attendance, they can just go ahead and take it off, but they probably want to know if you contact the attendance office and let them know, just in case you're running late. So I would, in that case, do both. Contact the teacher so they know you're running late, and contact us in case the attendance office or the teacher has already taken attendance.
Great. I see one. What do you do if an assignment was uploaded by the kid's device, but not received by the teacher? And I know this has been happening. The first thing I would do is contact the teacher, have the student email the teacher and saying, here's what I did, here, and see if they can kind of work out a plan to get that work back in, because that's the easiest way. And start with that. And again, if you contact a teacher and you're not getting kind of the response you're hoping to get, please contact a counselor or administrator. We're here to help you guys out with this process too.
About the question about an absence in error after communicating with the teacher, that would be updated. The attendance would then be updated in Synergy. And right now we know that some people are able to see the attendance tab in Synergy in Parent View, and some people are not. So we're working with the district on trying to get that fixed. So hopefully we will have that fixed as soon as possible so that you will be able to see it. Even normally it's 72 hours and we can't clear things, but we will work with you if you realize after the fact that it has not been cleared. So definitely we'll work with you if you notice after the fact. For the question about the teachers following the bell schedule and being on time, they all should be following that bell schedule. If they're not, it could be, I know some teachers are starting their Zooms about 15 to 20 minutes into the period because, but that's been communicated to their students that they're doing that. So I would say if there is an issue with the teacher not arriving on time, if you could reach out to an administrator. If you remember which one of us oversees the department, then we can help with that. Otherwise, just email all of us and we'll work with you on that.
Absolutely.
There's a question here about clubs for ninth graders. So if you have an incoming freshman, how exciting is that? What an awful time to come back to high school and start your high school career in a virtual environment. So I can see that a lot of kids want to get connected and quickly. So through our ASB, they do a yearly club rush. This year, we're planning a virtual club rush. The information will be available through our Instagram pages. ASB has some Instagram pages. So if you take a look at our website through ASB, there are the links there for all these, for the different Instagram pages, and things are getting pushed out to kids. So as long as they are following on Instagram, they'll be able to get the newest of what's going on campus.
There was a question about a projected return date for the students, and we don't really have a projected date for that right now. We're working it slowly to see if we can do this safely. The County of San Diego was almost put on purple today, but went back to red, which meant that we can still have kids on campus. But we don't have an actual date plan where we're going to have everyone back on campus. We're going to work this in a slow way to make sure we can keep our numbers safe and that students and teachers feel comfortable. So I don't have a date to give you on that yet. My kid has been.
I did respond to a question in the chat about a student who was reported absent, but they were there. Can that be fixed? Absolutely. Just reach out to that teacher. If that ever happens to your student, reach out to that teacher and they'll contact us and we'll get that cleared for you.
So I should mention that we're not choosing kids to return. The way it works is we first need to find a teacher that feels comfortable teaching in this in person. And then that teacher, then those students will be the first ones that will be coming back on campus. So right now we had our yearbook class meet today. And yesterday it was the dance teacher was comfortable. I know we have some other teachers starting later in the week. And next week we have some of our students with special needs will be coming back. So we're working at making sure that teachers feel comfortable because they have to do at the same time in their classroom while they're teaching kids in their classroom and running a Zoom session. They also have kids in the classroom and simultaneously running a Zoom session. Not everyone wants to do that. It's very complex and hard. So it's not like we're selecting kids to be chosen to come back on campus. We're based on the teacher being comfortable. At least we're starting it with that way. No student will ever be required to come to school. This is completely voluntary.
Just so some of the parents are aware, we are responding to some of the questions in the chat. Some of them we're responding to everyone, and some, if it's maybe specific to their child, we're responding to them directly. Just in case you do have a question, you can message us directly as well if you'd like to do that.
And there was a question about, maybe not feeling comfortable having your child on Instagram for some things. So the ASB is also putting together a Canvas page. So it'll soon be on the student's dashboard, and that information will be available there. Also on that dashboard is information for the Bronco Center and support and tutoring and social emotional supports and things like that. So that Canvas page that the students are using to get to all their classes also houses the Bronco Center and counseling resources. And soon, if not already, ASB will have information posted there. So if your student's not going to be using Instagram, they'll still be able to get information through that page or through that dashboard class.
There was a question about when students are coming to school in small groups, kind of what is our process for that? So we will have some designated entrance and exit points. They will be temperature checked at those. They will scan in and out, as Mr. Becker said. And they will be required to wear masks at all times. If they are going to be eating or drinking, they need to be outside of a classroom, and they need to be socially distanced from anyone else. Students will receive a sticker that has the day's date on it when they do get temperature checked. And if they lose that during the day or somehow missed getting one, then we'll send them back out to get temperature checked again. So we'll make sure that we're doing that for every single student that comes onto campus.
There's a question, are all teachers required to offer direct instruction versus relying mostly on videos? And the answer to that is no, they're not required. I think most teachers are using kind of a mix of videos and direct instruction, but it really just depends on the teacher and the class.
There's a question about bathrooms and soap. Since we have such limited kids on campus, we're only having one bathroom open, a smaller ones, and we're going to limit the amount of kids that are going in and out of that to keep kids distance from each other. And the bathrooms are cleaned every hour and stocked every hour. I see a football question there, Mr. Egan. Do you want to jump on that one?
So right now, CIF has postponed all sports till December 14th is the earliest they can start practicing in season. Obviously, there's a lot of time between then and now, and so we're just kind of going to have to wait and see kind of what happens between now and then. But the football does have a season scheduled with new adjusted dates starting in January and going into the February and March months. But again, we'll kind of see what the current conditions allow at that time.
There's a question about testing practices. I'm assuming meaning cameras, Zoom cameras on during a test. And again, we can't require students to have their cameras on during a Zoom session. We strongly recommend it and encourage it. If a student is not comfortable having their Zoom camera on, usually they should have a conversation with their teacher about that. But as a respect to a student's privacy, we're not requiring Zoom cameras on.
There's a question about do teachers require Zoom every day? So as of right now, our teachers are not required to Zoom every day with students. They are required to do some type of check-in every day with students. So that could be a Zoom meeting, that could be a live discussion board, it could be a survey or a check-in of some sort that they do. One of the things that we hear on both sides is, one, we hear sometimes that parents feel like students aren't Zooming enough. And then on the other hand, we hear that students are getting some major Zoom fatigue. So we want to be sure to balance that. And we've talked to our teachers a lot about balancing that. Our teachers are always absolutely available to their students during that period if they are not Zooming during that period though.
It's a question about the Wi-Fi being stable enough on campus. The Wi-Fi is not only updated, but typically it was designed to have, 2,000 plus kids on the campus. If we're running a school of 200 kids, the Wi-Fi should be more than adequate. It's probably better than the Wi-Fi in my house.
And there's a question, are in-person teachers and students tested for COVID-19? So as of right now, we're not equipped or even able to test, but what we are doing is a screening. So any student or teacher that comes onto campus has to go through the screening process where not only is there a temperature check, but they're also asked the series of questions as far as symptoms and also exposure and contacts. So that's what we will have in place when students and teachers are coming on campus. We already have it set up on place, but we'll expand that capacity to screen more as we bring more students back.
Question about setting up Parent View and Synergy. Would they talk to Valerie about that, or?
Oh, so Parent View, typically if you reach out to your counselor, the counselor will be able to help you and get you at least the how-to in order to get set up. So reach out to your student's counselor. It's a great way to introduce yourself and say hi.
I know we have about 2 more minutes before we have to release you all to go to your first period class. I don't want you tardy. This is all being recorded. If you didn't get your question answered, we're going to keep the chat. We're going to post this, but I know that this is a short amount of time and that we got to spend with you. Email us, call us tomorrow, tonight. I love talking to parents. I miss it. And just let us know what you're thinking,
There was a question about athletic packets. So if you go to the school website under the athletic department, there's information there about for the packets as well as dates that you can turn them in. There's a question about a specific class, like the theater class. So I would just encourage you to email the teacher directly and kind of see where she's at. If you have any questions about a specific class and where the teacher is as far as bringing kids on campus or not. Right now, they're the ones who can give you the best information as to what they're planning over the next couple of weeks or months.
Question about homework. How much homework should they have? It depends on the grade in the class. If your student's taking AP classes, they're going to have a lot of homework and a lot of reading to do. If they're not taking AP classes and they're, in like regular 9th grade classes, college prep classes, they won't have as much homework. But remember, Zoom is a very compacted version of the school day. There still is homework after school, or after Zoom, we should say.
I think, yes, definitely to the question, will we be able to do a Q&A again if virtual lasts for a while, and also because things change all the time. So absolutely, we can do other virtual Q&As again.
Yes, absolutely. We can make it semi-regular if you like.
So there's a question of how do you go to your first period back to school night? So if you log into Canvas as a parent through My Plan and you click on Canvas as a parent, then you can go to your student's dashboard and click into each of their classes. If you have trouble, your student knows how to get into their classes. They can log you in to their teacher's Canvas page and help you get into the first period class. Because your students have access to all of this through their teacher's Canvas. So, if you're having trouble, ask your student.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start closing this down. Again, we're here for you. Even though we can't see you, we're here for you. So please reach out to us, send us an email, and thank you for your support. Everyone have a good night, okay?
All right. As far as new drivers, FYI, for right now, this is going to be a big question for a lot of you. Right now, there are no Start Smart classes. So for right now, if we do come to class, your student will be able to park without that Start Smart class.
We are asking, and we will post it online, but we are asking that students at least use a QR code to let us know the make and model and license plate number of their car. So we'll put that on the website, especially starting next week when we'll start to have even more students on campus, just so that we do know who is on campus, and if there are any issues, we can address those. But right now, we are not going through the parking permit process as normal.
Okay. Good luck, everybody. You should be able to get them without your students' email accounts.